Hey guys, thanks very much for joining me again and for watching my video on Grand Theft Auto 5 saying that it had arrived and I was reviewing it, so thanks very much for asking your questions. I'm currently, it's still the weekend, I play loads of the game. I'm pretty close to finishing it now, I think. I've been playing through, my playthrough has been focused on the main missions, but the side missions are so they're so distracting that obviously it's taken a little bit longer than that, and it really is huge, so it's going to take a long time to see fully. But yeah, I wanted to just get back to you. You have some really good questions on YouTube and Twitter, so I wanted to just answer your questions. So here goes. Now the embargo's broken. Here goes. So this is a good one to start with. High Tech TV on YouTube says, does the game live up to the hype? And sorry, does it live up to all the hype said about it? So the short answer is yes. This is a phenomenal game. It's absolutely fantastic. Definitely the best, or my favourite in the GTA series so far. And one of the best games I've ever played, both on an artistic and technical level. It's absolutely extraordinary. The interesting thing to say about it, I think, is the fact that the 3-character setup in GTA 5 is its stroke of genius. Really, it's the best feature, or at least the one that I think has been the one that's the most ambitious and also incredibly well implemented. So yeah, the key thing to say is that each of those characters is phenomenally strong, very interesting. You're always interested to see where their lives are how they're playing out in this world. I think my personal favorite, I think Michael is incredibly well drawn, but also Franklin is also as compelling, and Trevor is just genuinely psychotic, so you kind of can't take your eyes off him. And they play out incredibly well narratively. They also play out incredibly well in gameplay terms. Each has got their own individual strength. For example, Franklin is very good with cars, Trevor's great in aerial vehicles, and yeah, I can't compliment the work that Rockstar's done enough to just a fantastic game, incredible world that they've created here, great story, but that real key facet that really takes it to the next level, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm aware that's a stupid phrase, but takes it one step beyond what GTA 4 achieved, is this 3-character arc. All of them deserving of their own game, I would say. I like Nico Bellic from GTA 4, but GTA 5's characters are really well drawn and very entertaining, and that element of moving between them in missions it works really well. You can't always move between them completely freely, and in fact it takes a good 8 hours or so, at least for me, for one of the characters to get unlocked. So it takes a while for that to all play out, but once it does, and the first mission where I'll put a link to it, but basically the first mission where the 3 characters meet each other is phenomenal. It's one of the best missions. I mean, probably the best mission I've ever played in a GTA game. It sees Franklin taking out people with a sniper rifle, Michael rappelling down a building. You've seen some of that if you've seen some of the videos that have been released pre-launch, and Trevor in a helicopter overseeing the whole thing. It's one of the great missions in a game that's packed full of amazing, really very memorable missions. So yes, you'll be able to see my full review by the time this is up. It'll be posted over on the Stuff website. But to answer your question, yes, it does live up to the hype. It's a phenomenally successful game. If you're a fan of GTA games or open world games or action games in general, it's an absolute must play in my book. The White Knight 89, so I'm just looking at my tablet here. The White Knight 89 says, hi, my main concern, and perhaps many other games' concerns, is the driving physics and handling. I was a huge fan of 4's driving. Sure, it took a bit of getting used to, but I love the satisfaction of needing some skill to drive. Basically, how different is it? Is it arcadey? Do some cars handle more like 4? And which do you honestly prefer? Also, your opinion on vehicle damage would be welcome. Looking forward to the review, and that's from the White Knight 89. So yeah, the driving for me in Grand Theft Auto 4 was one of the most frustrating elements. That thing where the back of a lot of the vehicles would veer out. It would kind of, especially if you're doing a handbrake turn, it would spin right out. That's mostly gone from the majority of the vehicles in GTA 5. The handling model is actually quite different overall, but I would say it's much improved. The handling for nearly every vehicle is absolutely spot on. The aerial vehicles, the planes and helicopters, can take a little bit of getting used to, but only, a couple of minutes basically to learn the handling. I remember first getting into a plane and basically crashing it quite a few times before I got the hang of it. But then again, I'm not the best at aerial vehicles in Battlefield and that sort of thing, so that could just be a personal weakness. But yeah, I'd say the handling model overall is much improved in GTA 5. It's really, really good. The vehicles handle really, really nicely. The bikes handle great as well. There are lots of quad bikes out where Trevor is in the sticks, and if you're using Franklin, because he's a mechanic, you can click in the sticks to kind of slow down time. So if you need to kind of weave in between traffic or make a very quick turn, Franklin is able to essentially use bullet time, slow down time, make a big adjustment to his turn, and squeeze through traffic, and that's a really nice touch. So yeah, overall, much improved. Which do I honestly prefer? I much prefer the cars in GTA 5. I think they've nailed the handling model. I hope that they use that in the next game. Vehicle damage. Yeah, vehicle damage is a weird one. The cars in GTA 5 can take a lot of damage before they start to have their performance affected. Slight caveat there: if they're being shot at, then they can get torn apart, and you can get shot quite easily in a car this time around. Felt quite vulnerable even in cars. But yeah, it takes a lot of battering them around to really break them up. There's that thing in GTA, I think it was in 4 as well, where if you turn a car, you can, and you, as you play the game, you unlock an ability to control this to a certain extent. If you're in the air, you can control the movement of the car in the air. The more you play it, the more you drive. There's some RPG-esque elements in GTA 5, so you're always improving your fighting skills and your driving skills over time. But it has that GTA thing as well, where you can, if you land on your side or the top of your car, you can kind of, to a certain extent, control the flip and make it flip around, so you're not always stuck if you're turned upside down. But yeah, I mean, the only caveat I'd say with the driving is that there were certain missions a good way into the game, and this is something that I think affects all GTA games and all games in general, really, where it gets more difficult. So I found myself as I progressed, the timers the amount of time you'd have to perform certain driving missions would get more restrictive, or you'd have to take down someone on a motorbike, and it'd be really difficult. It'd be weaving in and out and trying to get away from you. My only complaint really would be that it can be quite difficult to shoot your weapon while driving. That's still. It's pretty much exactly the same as it was in GTA 4, where you use a shoulder button to fire. It can be a little bit frustrating lining that up, but yeah, it's no different from GTA 4 in that respect. Next question, Hugo Deacon says, "Hi Guy, when you jump from one character to another, as you do this more and more in the game, are they doing the same thing over and over, e.g. car chases, bar fights, shopping, or have they made it so that if you jump into one of the characters, it feels fresh each time?" So that's a good question. I think they've done a really good job. This is Rockstar, the game makers. Have done a really good job of making it fresh each time. What I'd say is when you're moving between characters, and as I mentioned during this video, you don't always have access to all three characters. There are certain restrictions. For example, the first sort of 8 hours of the game, you've only got 2 characters. You can move between them fairly freely. When you get the third character, the other 2 characters are not available for a chunk of time. After that, it becomes much more open, moving between the 3 of them. But they all seem to live out their own separate lives, which is one of the really, really cool parts of the game. When you move between characters, in case you haven't seen the videos, I think this has been shown off before. When you move between characters, you press down on the D-pad, and then a circular wheel comes up with 4 quadrants. You've got the 3 characters, so Michael, Franklin, and Trevor, and then in the bottom is a sort of just a blank player, which is what the online is going to be when that unlocks in a couple of weeks. But when you move between characters, the camera zooms out into the map, overhead, like way, way up in the sky, and then it moves over to where the other character is, and then it zooms back down onto that character. And that's a transition that obviously covers some loading that's required, but it's a transition that it looks really, really cool. It takes about 10 seconds, but it looks really, really cool. And it gives you a sense of scale and a sense of just how big this world is. But each of the characters is usually doing their own thing. I mean, I'd come across moments where part of the story of Michael is that, you know, he's stressed. His life isn't as good as he. I mean, he's got a great life on paper, but, you know, his family is a problem, and he's being dragged back into the life of crime. And you see him doing things. I don't want to spoil anything. I'm aware of spoilers at this stage, but you see him doing things that sort of add a bit of depth to that lifestyle and what he's going through, which is really, really cool. You go and see Trevor, and he's a kind of unhinged psychopath. So you see him doing unhinged psychopath type stuff. And when you move to each of the characters, you'll be surprised with what they're doing. They aren't just, sometimes they're just driving around or walking around, but sometimes they are doing things that, like I say, without spoilers, will add to the character and give the character a bit more depth. And I really like that. And like I said, the depth that Rockstar goes into with those characters in general is one of the, if not the biggest strong point of the game. So also, I've got the game running in the background. This is just the background that's running on PlayStation at the moment. And then finally on YouTube anyway, Bazit, I think BAZYT1 on YouTube said, I wonder if reviewers will talk about GTA Online. I guess not, unless they got some special viewing of it. So yeah, reviewers, at least in my experience and my knowledge, reviewers are not getting access to GTA 5's online component. GTA's online component is a big deal for Rockstar. Having spoken to them about it, they see this as the next evolution of GTA. They are putting a lot of effort into it. They are looking to expand it and provide new content for it on a weekly basis, I believe. And they, I'm having played through the single player game and seen the quality that it's at, I would be very excited to see what they do with the online multiplayer. I caveat it slightly by saying that I remember GTA 4 coming out and playing a little bit of the online in it, but still, for me anyway, the attraction is definitely the single player game and that narrative and that story. What Rockstar looks to be doing with GTA 5 online looks to be very exciting, but I will wait and see until obviously I'll wait and see before giving a verdict on it, but I'll wait and see whether it's going to turn out as well as they hope. I've no doubt. I mean, like I said, the single player game is of an incredible quality, so I've no doubt that it'll be worth taking a look at. But yeah, reviewers are not going to get to see it before it launches, and I would say that the single player game warrants a purchase on its own, even without the online component. So even if the online component is a complete and absolute failure, not saying that it will be, it's still definitely worth a purchase. Finally, I wanted to pick up a couple of questions that I'd been asked privately by a couple of people on Facebook and Twitter, which was which version of the game is best to buy. Now, I've seen people getting the game. This is a very weird setup because I've seen people actually getting the game, friends of mine getting the game through Amazon on the weekend, which Amazon should, in theory, get in trouble for because Rockstar had apparently asked retailers not to send the game out until Monday. I'm recording this on Saturday. Not to send it out till Monday so that it arrives on people's doorsteps on Tuesday, which is the official launch date. And obviously, that means Amazon was sending it out on Friday, which is quite a way before Monday. Just going to grab these. So I've got the PlayStation version of the game and the Xbox version of the game as well. I got the PlayStation version first due to a mix-up. I asked for the Xbox version, but I've got both, so I've been playing on PlayStation. So I've played through the PlayStation version and played a little bit of the Xbox version, a few missions into that now. Like I say, the game quality is incredible, and I fully expect to play through it again on Xbox. I don't think I've not done any scientific measurement, and what I would say is if it's really important to you, watch out for Digital Foundry's verdict on which is the best version. They usually post quite quickly on Eurogamer as to which is the best, which has the best frame rate. So this is all anecdotal and unscientific. I prefer the Xbox controller. I'm not massively into achievements just because I review a lot of games and I play them on different machines and sometimes on debug, what they call debug equipment. So sometimes don't get the achievements. So I've moved over to PC recently. And as an aside, I can't wait to play GTA 5 on PC. I think it's going to be phenomenal on PC. There are certain instances, for example, when you zoom in on far off objects where the textures aren't very sharp. I think if this game was on PC, if you're listening, Rockstar, then I think you'd be able to, with the increased power and increased memory, that draw distance wouldn't be a problem. But going back to the current gen versions and the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, there's not really much to decide between them. Like I say, if you're a fan of the Xbox controller, get it on Xbox. I'm a fan of the Xbox controller. I use the Xbox controller when I'm playing on Xbox and PC. So that would be my preference. Like I say, I don't really care about achievements. Overall, the game is incredibly polished and very good looking. Very good looking. I think it's really come a long way since GTA 4, which is already a good looking game. Or at least a technically impressive game. There can be, when you're racing fast, when you're racing like a fast sports car, there can be a tiny little bit of a drop in frame rate. It seems to affect both consoles, but it seems to impact less. Maybe just, like I say, anecdotally, a tiny little bit less on Xbox, but it's certainly not something that I would let judge either version of the game. But yeah, I really would love to see this game on PC or next-gen consoles. I think it would be relatively simple. And obviously I'm not a developer, but hopefully be relatively simple for Rockstar to do. And of course, all GTA games have come to PC historically in the past, so I have no doubt that I'll play it on PC at some point. So that's it. Hopefully that answers your questions. Thanks very much for watching this video. I've had a thoroughly enjoyable weekend playing this game, and I'm going to write up my review now. And it will be live by the time you're watching this video because of embargoes. But thank you very much for asking questions. I really, really hope you guys get a chance to play this game and get out there and pick it up. Like I say, it's a phenomenal, staggering achievement, which I would absolutely recommend. There are relatively very few weak points in the game. There's one mission that involves a little bit of torture, which I personally wasn't. You're kind of forced to torture someone, and I personally wasn't particularly comfortable with it. But then again, I do respect Rockstar's artistic vision and their right to do that. And it's in keeping with the character, shall we say, that you're playing when it's well, you can probably guess who that is, but when you're playing it. So yeah, that was really my one piece of sort of uncomfortable, or like not I didn't enjoy that bit, but everything else is really, really solid, really stellar. It's certainly one of the best games of this year. It's a great finish, I think, for this console generation as well. It's a game that's going to keep you occupied for, if you want it to, for weeks, if not months. There's so much to do in here. I'm looking at properties at the moment. Like I say, at this point in time, I've not finished it, but I'm very close, I think. I'm looking at properties that I can't afford. You know, if you want to really get into that side of it, there are property development aspects. There's golfing, there's tennis, there's so many races to complete. Probably a bunch of stuff that I haven't even seen. I was trying to shoot down... flew a helicopter to the tallest building, dropped it down, was trying to shoot a blimp down and wasn't able to. But yeah, it's a phenomenal achievement, and it's some way beyond, when having played other open world games recently, things like Saints Row, it's some way beyond other open world games such as that. So I really hope you get to play it. I really hope you enjoy it. Thanks very much for watching. If you want to ask more questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Just ask them in the comments below, or hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Guy Cocker. Please check out my review on Stuff as well. And I'll see you next time. Thanks very much.